Hi, I'm Jeff Dreschler with Mainsail News TV. I'm sitting here with Kevin Fowley of the Schooner Hindu. The Schooner Hindu has quite a history, and Kevin has quite a history with it. So we're going to talk a little bit about what kind of stage of development the Hindu is in right now and what the plans are for the future. Kevin, what kind of work are you doing in this phase of the refit?
Well, right now, most of what we're doing is under the boat. We're recaulking it all, replacing planks, getting it ready to put back in the water. We have a new engine for the boat. And so the deck is in a disarray, but that'll be the last thing we do once we get it in the water and get all that part finished. Then we'll do the work out here. It's going to probably be put back in the water in a couple of weeks, is what we're shooting for.
Okay, great. Are you going to be lining up to do some charter while you're still down here in the Keys, or are you going to wait until you get back up to Provincetown? What's the plan for that?
Right now, Jeff, the people that own the boat, they're still figuring that out. Trying to, they're researching it, what they want to do with the boat, where they want to run it. So it's too early to tell. This all just happened so quick. The Rowan family, they bought the boat in August, and after they hauled it out, it sat for 2 years baking in the sun here in the Keys. So they, one thing led to another. We had to put a new transom on. All the planks, some of them got rotted from sitting in the hot sun for 2 years, 2 summers. So once we get all that done and they get the boat running, sailing and stuff, then I guess they'll figure out what their plan is for the future for the boat. But I do know they still plan to charter the boat, and hopefully here in Key West.
Well, that's great news. Now, this is, I believe you said, the longest running charter boat on the East Coast. Is that right?
Second longest running, though. The Hindu started her chartering career as a excursion boat in 1945 in Provincetown. The longest running boat is named the Grace Bailey. That works out of Camden, Maine, and they started in 1936. Now there were other boats that did it, of course, not many before 1936, but there were some that did it before 1945. But as far as we know from all our research and putting ads in different magazines and stuff, no one has claimed that they have an excursion boat that was working in sail before 1945, except for the Grace Bailey. So we just say it's the second longest running one, continuously run. And in that time, it's gone through 4 owners. And in its history, it's had 7 owners. Built in 1925 in East Booth Bay, Maine, and spent most of its life on the East Coast.
All right, I understand you have quite a history with this boat yourself. It's kind of the boat you grew up with. So why don't you tell us a little about that? When did you start working on her?
Well, when I grew up, I lived across the street from the Avila family, who Al Avila, Captain Al Avila, when he got out of the Coast Guard in 1945, he bought the Hindu from the Navy, and then he started doing sailing excursions in Provincetown, Massachusetts, which is way at the end of Cape Cod, right at the tip of Cape Cod, and he ran that boat, and his uncle was the captain on it, and Captain Al also had a fishing boat, the kind where people fish off the side. They call them head boats, but and so he ran that. That boat was called the Dolphin too. And his uncle ran the Hindu until about 1985, and he became ill with cancer. But he still went to work every day on the Hindu that last summer before he passed away. But when I was young, starting when I was 12, my mother would get rid of me, and she would send me with the Avilas up to Provincetown and I would work on the boat, polishing the binnacle, scrubbing the deck, whatever we did. We did it in a little while in the morning. Sometimes we went out on the boat, but often we would just hang out on the pier. Back in those days, a big boat came in every day from Boston around noontime, and we used to jump in the water, and people would throw pennies and nickels in the water, and on a good day you could get 40 or 50 cents and go up to the pharmacy in Provincetown, still there, and you could get a Coke for a nickel. So if you got a nickel, then you helped everybody, friends, get a nickel until everyone had a nickel, and then we'd go run up there and get it was actually root beer we'd get in a frozen mug. The mugs were frozen. So yeah, I go back with the boat. I got my captain's license, from some of my time on the Hindu, and I worked on it off and on occasionally, and maintained my friendship with the family. And eventually the boat was sold in 1988. Susan Avalar, the daughter of Justin, Al Avalar's uncle, she was the captain on it, and she kind of inherited it, and she sold it. And in 1970, it was kind of a weird situation. A gentleman from Provincetown named Charlie Mayo, he was getting his PhD in oceanography. So for his thesis, he decided to do his thesis about whales. And there's right off of Provincetown is one of the main places in the world where whales go to eat in the summertime. And so they used the Hindu, they used his boat in the beginning to take him out there so he could photograph the whales and just try to see if people would get interested in going to see the whales. And first the Hindu took out school children to see him, and then other people started coming, and so whale watching was born. Not by any planned thing, that's for sure. I mean, back in 1970 on Cape Cod, the fact that someone would actually pay money to go look at a whale would be like today, someone paying money in Vermont or somewhere to go look at a cow. I mean, there were whales everywhere in those days, and but no one ever thought that anyone cared about them. They were there. They were a presence, like seagulls, and like today, for some weird reason, no one knows. But all of a sudden, in the last few years, there's like hundreds of seals arriving on Cape Cod. They don't hunt them anymore, and so they're multiplying. And I guess up in Maine and Nova Scotia and those places, there's too many of them, so they start moving south. So now, of course, on Cape Cod, you can go on a seal watch if you want to, or you can go out to the beach and see hundreds of them swimming around. Of course, this is can be a problem because they eat fish, and there was no predators for certain fish on Cape Cod in a grand scale, and now that's happening. But in 1970, people started coming to Provincetown to go out and see whales. It got put in magazines and people that were into that kind of thing, and so whale watching was born. And Captain Avalar started using his fishing boat, and actually he got a grant and he built the first whale watching boat in the history of the world. The first one was too narrow though, and it wasn't. They had to build another one. When all the people ran over one side to look at the whales, the boat heeled excessively, so that boat only lasted a year and got sold off as a passenger ferry. And then the Dolphin 4 was the first real whale watching boat designed especially for it. But the Hindu was the baby that started the whole thing going. And she's over like my my ownership of it for 4 years. We were in 2 movies, and she's well known all over the East Coast. Hundreds of people come to Provincetown every year to come on the Hindu. And so, we lost it in a legal battle, but I'm so happy that, the Rowans, Bill Rowan and his son Josh, have been able to get the boat away from the bank, and they're doing a really great job fixing it up. And I'm feel like pretty lucky to be part of the whole thing, you know. So if you see us out there during the summer or anytime you're in Key West, stop by and say hi and take a sail.
All right. I know there's a lot of people who are really interested in the day that it's going to be back in the water and sailing again. I think last time I looked, you had 2,900 Facebook friends that are following this boat and waiting to see what happens. Have you been involved with what's happening on those kind of internet pages?
Well, you know, believe it or not, I just learned about Facebook myself during the last summer. But I was aware, you know, the person who started the Facebook page, Jonathan King, he started it, and then, you know, as it went along, and when the Rowans purchased the vessel, he gave them the Facebook page, which they maintain, plus they have two other sites. They have one site called Hindu Charters, where they post a lot of photos of the daily, you know, what's going on every day. And they also, under Bonnie Rowan, R-O-W-A-N, Bonnie Rowan, they have another web page that shows about the rebuilding of this boat and their other boat. They have two boats that they're rebuilding, and an RV too. They're rebuilding that. So yeah, there's plenty of information out there, and a lot of people just love schooners. You know, there's something about them that just has their own little cult. And you know, there's schooners, of course, all over. There's schooners on the east coast of Florida. Key West is a huge place for schooners. On the west coast, they have them somewhere in Tampa. They have them in, of course, Maine is the schooner capital of the world. In Camden, Maine, Rockland, Maine, Booth Bay, Maine. Up in Bar Harbor, they have a big one. Yep. You know, so they're the kind of boat that people just, you know, it's like people that love model trains or people that love art, or what, people love schooners, and they follow them around, and they you can hear the saw, folks.
That's probably going to start cutting us short. They got the saw going again. They're going to continue on with work here. Well, we look forward to the time you're back in the water. I'm sure we'll be back on board sailing with you when that happens. Thank you very much, Kevin.
All right, Jeff. Thank you, and come on down to Key West, folks, and have a sail and have some fresh fish and some good shrimp too. Okay.